Do you have a pet sitting at home with you? According to Forbes Advisor, 66% of American households own a pet, and 65.1 million of those households own a dog. A CNBC article done in 2018 shows that 1 in 3 pets is going to need emergency veterinary care every year. My name is Madeline. I am a veterinary technician student, and I have seen firsthand what proper owner knowledge and preparedness can do to save an animal's life. Every pet owner should be prepared to act in an emergency and know what to do and know how to properly disinfect and apply a bandage to their dogs, in this case, or animals' wounds. So today I would like to show you how to do that. So the first thing you want to do when you find your animal injured is get them into a safe place and then gather all the supplies that you're going to need. So you're going to want something to disinfect the wound with. I have some saline wash right here. And then you want something to apply over the wound to cover it. I have some cotton gauze, and then something to wrap the wound with and secure it. So I have some cling gauze and then some medical tape in case I need it. So not everyone has, gauze and cling wrap and everything in their houses. So you can use the household items if you need to. You can replace this cotton gauze with a paper towel or a napkin, a washcloth even if you needed to. Instead of cling gauze, you can use anything that's big enough, really. You can use a blanket, a scarf, a towel, anything to wrap around that wound and secure it until you can get your animal to a veterinarian. So now that we've gathered all of our supplies, the next step you want to do is disinfect the wound. So Pompey over here didn't want to participate, so I'm using this llama right here to demonstrate how to bandage. So with disinfecting a wound, the I Love Veterinary blog doesn't suggest using hydrogen peroxide like a lot of people do on their wounds. It can be really damaging to tissue and cause more damage or cause more harm than good. So instead, they recommend using a saline wash or some salt water, which you can make at home if you don't have any. So you want to pretty generously apply this to the wounded area. Make sure you get it with like a paw pad in all the crevices and all that, and make sure it's nice and saturated. And then you're gonna dab it dry like this. Ideally, you would actually rinse the wound with water, some like warm water first. I didn't have any on hand, so kind of just skip that step. If you don't have any, that's fine. Sterile saline will at least temporarily get it clean enough to where until you can get to a vet. But of course, some warm water with a cup, or if you can get them under the sink and then doing the saline, is always preferred. So now that now that the wound is clean and disinfected and at less risk for an infection, it's time to apply our bandage. I'm following the Ontario SPCA's guidelines for wrapping a bandage. This is not the only way you can do. I prefer it. It's nice and easy and it seems to work pretty well, and it's pretty easy to grasp. So what you want to do is take your gauze or paper towel or whatever, and you want to center it over the wound and then apply some light pressure there, and then take your cling gauze, and this is probably the hardest part here, is you want to line your cling gauze up with their wrist so that you're actually centering the gauze over the cotton right there. So I have it up on this wrist, and then you're going to go up to the other side about the same height, and then if you had something bigger, you would repeat this multiple times. I'm only going to do it once just because it's not really needed, but you would go back and forth a couple times and make sure you're covering everything that you need to. And then once it's done to your specifications, you're going to take this gauze and you're going to start wrapping it around the animal instead. Some people prefer to cut the gauze here and then start a new one. I think this is just easier. It takes a lot less time to do. You don't have to worry about finding scissors and all that. And then you want to make sure you apply about an even amount of pressure. So I was always taught to do this by pulling some light tension in your bandage here and then pulling it up, and then following the same process, pulling it up a little bit and out and then over. And you also want to follow, Ontario says this too, the SPCA, but it's the 50% rule. So you want to have the bandage 50% over the bandage you already have on there, and then 50% over the animal's fur. This helps equalize the pressure and make sure you're not cutting off any blood flow or circulation or anything like that. So here's where you would cut the cling gauze if you needed to. Mine ran out actually, which is perfect timing. And then this one isn't super sticky, which happens a lot of times, so I'm going to use, oh, I have this right here. I'm going to use some medical tape just to go around the top here, and you want to follow that 50-50 rule still, covering half of the fur, half of the bandage. And then if you needed to, if it was kind of loose down here, you could go across like this just to secure it and get some extra padding right there. But I don't really need to do that, so I'm just going to leave it like so. So now she's nice and bandaged, and she's ready to be transported to a vet to be properly cared for. It is an important part of pet ownership to know what to do in an emergency, know how to act, know what you need. And especially if an animal gets a cut on their foot, has an open wound, you need to know to gather your supplies, how to disinfect the wound, what to use, and then how to properly apply your bandage. With more than 86 million homes in America owning a pet, owners should do everything they can to ensure their pet's safety and know how to act in an emergency.